An album that garnered a lot of attention, dropped a couple of days early. Run the Jewels 4, RTJ4, dropped on Wednesday, June 3rd, amidst the uh, protests, violence against people in the Black and African American community. And dropping, as Killer Mike said, because tomorrow is not promised. So dropping it early, I think feels very much like a Run the Jewels album, which is good. You know, that they I think with all four of these albums, you could have taken a couple songs out, put them in there, and it would have all felt the same, which I think is good and bad in some ways. Maybe we'll talk about that. But overall, I was really blown away because I think this album is not only as strong lyrically and sonically as any other of the RTJ albums, but it just feels so of the moment, which is also unfortunate because I think if maybe people had been paying attention a little bit more or been a little bit more called to be taking action, any RTJ album would have felt of the moment, you know, because this isn't a new issue and new themes that they're speaking to on here. But with the recent upswell and people wanting to take action against police brutality, it felt very timely. Dave, how are you feeling about RTJ4? What were just your general thoughts on it?
Yeah, I was very excited when it dropped early. Just threw the headphones on for this one. You know, just really locked in, and it's kind of, sometimes they make like run through the wall music, especially if you're connecting to the greater message. And it's always funny because Run the Jewels in general, they're not a duo to concoct these really deep roundabout metaphors. They're usually really blunt and upfront about what they're saying. A lot of times that can just be like stupid jokes or really aggressive anti-establishment sentiments, obviously. And for RTJ4, I think, like you said, they're giving you exactly what you expect, but it's coming at literally exactly the right time. This was the 2 days early, but it was basically the scheduled release date, and yet it's like just what the doctor ordered, which is funny because we were saying something similar about Charlie XCX, which was like an album for the moment when it came to quarantine, and now we have an album for the moment when it comes to social unrest in the U.S. and the larger world. So it's tough to say overstate. Just it's exactly what we needed, and it's great.
Yeah, it's a really strong album, and I think the verse everybody's been talking about is Killer Mike on "Walking in the Snow." You actually put it on your story the other day, and really it's a handful of lines in the middle. I'll pull it up and just kind of read them off because I think it really speaks to the moment. But the interesting thing about these lyrics, right, is that they could have been written 2 days before this dropped. They could have been written a week before this dropped, but they were written back in September. And every day on the evening news, they feed you fear for free. And you so numb, you watch the cops choke out a man like me until my voice goes from a shriek to whisper, I can't breathe. You sit there in the house on the couch and watch it on TV. Yeah, and Killer Mike wrote this verse about Eric Gardner, the Eric Gardner killing. And to have the killing of the murder of George Floyd at the hands of the Minneapolis police be so similar in circumstance, the way it came about, the way that they did murder him, and for that to be kind of the rallying cry right now around these protests, just feels like one of those like serendipitous moments where you're just kind of like, how is this even? I mean, you say, how is this even possible? Well, we know what it is. It's systemic racism within the law enforcement across the United States, but it just feels like really almost like there's like a higher power at play with something like that to be coming out this time. I know hearing that verse, I was completely blown away, and that's not even to just speak to Walking in the Snow as a larger song, which I think is just a complete banger of a song. Great chorus. LP, I think, on the first verse kills it. Any thoughts on that song? Anything that stood out to you particularly?
No, I guess not. I think in general, all the RTJ albums, nothing ever like comes out of left field. They always everything just kind of feels like of a piece. And like you said, you can still cut songs or probably songs you don't want to hear again, just, ignore. And I think when RTJ is at their quote worst, it's just because they make music that sometimes is just a little dense, like the way they rap combined with that production. You can't throw these songs on all the time. You have to kind of be in the mood, obviously, like some exceptions, or like Legend Has It, or Close Your Eyes, Count the Fuck, stuff like that. But yeah, in general, it's like you got to be in the mood for it. So, but I don't think anything like blew me away. It was just kind of more of what they do, but I guess more focused and unfortunately still very prescient.
Yeah. I agree. Kind of going through the songs that you could take out, what were the songs that you feel like were essential to this album or kind of define this album for you?
I really like Never Look Back. Interesting, like synths on there. You don't get a lot of synths from LP, so that was cool. Just is a cool one because look at all those slave masters. Was it posing, dancing on your dollar, however it goes? Friend of the show, Mike Lennon, pointed out to me that that's just as strong of a political statement and slogan as it is a hook for a song. And kind of an interesting combo of Skateboard P and Zach De La Roca on the same track. Pharrell, I don't know if Pharrell really adds anything super great to the song, but it's kind of cool to hear his energy, I guess. And it's always great to hear from Zach, period. So RTJ seems to just bring him out. And of course, in a certain sense, Run the Jewels is an extension of Rage Against the Machine. They're really interested in the same stuff. So that's great. 2 Chainz was kind of unexpected for me and out of sight in the beginning, but he sounded great on the track. So
yeah,
I was with that one.
He also, I think, outside of Killer Mike, had the line of the album, "I bought a hot dog stand. I'm trying to be frank." I literally, 2 Chainz, every time he pops up, always has one line that just makes me fucking laugh out loud. So good. I appreciate 2 Chainz for that. To go back just for a second onto Just Money with Zach on the track. It's so interesting because I found myself listening to Rage Against the Machine quite a lot this week. I think, that's kind of the mindset I was in, was kind of like, fuck the establishment. And I just kind of want to hear Zach jump on a whole album with RTJ, or just do like more remix with them, because he just fits in so well with their vibe. And it seems like he brings it every time he gets on a song with them. I wonder if he just doesn't want to do more. I don't really know if he's doing like his own indie music that I'm just not tuned into.
He's not really, no. But Rage was going to have that comeback tour this year that got at least postponed, if not flipped on its head due to the pandemic, of course.
Yeah, that's true. So I don't know, but sorry, I cut you off. Any other songs that you really been digging on this?
I thought Holy Camel Fuck was also strong. Mike's is really good on that. In general, I think Mike makes a bigger impression on this album than LP rapping wise, but LP's still just fitting in and out when he can. He still has great chemistry with Mike, so it always works. But it felt like Mike's voice was just a little louder this time. But I mean, heck, they've been creative partners for like 8 years at this point, so that's to be expected.
Yeah, I wanted to shout out Queens of the Stone Age, Josh Homme, jumping on Pulling the Pin. I thought that was an interesting addition to an RTJ album, and I actually really liked the last song a lot. I felt like the production on that was some of LP's best on the record, and there are a couple other producers on that one, Sweeney, Little, Shalimar, Wilder, Sobe. So it obviously wasn't all him, but I thought kind of incorporating the strings kind of brought that. I thought it was a great closer for the album, and then having that like drop in the beat, and then it just kind of like comes rushing back in. Killer Mike gives one last great verse on it. Great way to wrap it up. There was a tweet from a RTJ fan, but I think also he's a bit of like a music critic, or at least a influencer in some respect. Jensen Karp. He said, "Just an FYI, Run the Jewels has the greatest 4-album run in hip hop history." Dave, do you agree with this statement?
Yeah, think about that a little bit. First comes to mind would be someone like Tupac, who had a very prolific career. It's interesting. Now, I mean, I was thinking, it's like RTJ, much like Freddie Gibbs, who we discussed last week, is one of the truly bangable, consistent things in rap. You just are always going to get something really good every time. Um, 4 album runs, I got to think a little deeper.
Yeah. There was one, actually, a group that came to mind immediately for me. That's Outkast. Going Atlians, Aquemini, Synconia, and Speaker Box The Love Below.
Sure.
Which went, I think, like triple platinum or diamond or something like that.
That's a diamond record back when that meant something.
Yeah. That's the first one that came to mind for me.
Well, that's also funny because, of course, Killer Mike's whole come up in early career is in direct association with Goody Mob and Outkast. So, that's funny.
Yeah. I couldn't really think of any others off the rip. I mean, I think go Kanye, but you have either any way you slice it, you have 808 in the middle, and some people ride for that. I don't necessarily ride for 808 that much.
Right. No, it's not a universally like to say that now. Eminem's another one. You have like the first 3, and then you have Encore as the 4th one, which isn't good enough. Actually, wait, no. Hold on. Infinite. My name is Marshall Mathers LP Eminem Show. Infinite's probably not strong enough to do it, but that's close. I'd say Tupac's probably the closest.
Yeah. What is your preferred RTJ album? Do you have one?
Yeah, 2. I think 2's the best. I had that on my decade albums list. That was like the level up to the level up. Really, in terms of like congruous albums, that's the one I think they're just most like focused on what they're doing on the album. That's my favorite.
I agree, but I think this one might be number 2 for me. I just I like how they incorporated guitars a lot on this. This almost feels like a album that they could really do with a live band and just really crush it. I'd like to see how they do this live. So whenever we can tour and go to shows again, I definitely want to catch them.